everyone, welcome to Eve Math Tutoring. Today's lesson is on solving equations. So we're going to start off with a simple example. So say you're given the example 3x equals 8 plus 2x, and you're asked to maybe solve for x. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to bring all of the x's to one side and keep all the numbers on the other side. So when you move something over to the other side of the equation, the sign of it changes. So if it's a plus here, it becomes a minus. And then these are like terms, so you can just go ahead and subtract them. So 3x minus 2x is just x, and then x is equal to 8. So that would be your answer. Okay. So let's try another example. Say we have 3x minus 5 is equal to x plus 1. So in this one, what you're going to do is bring all the x's to one side and all the numbers to the other side. So when I bring this x over, 3x, it becomes a negative. And when I bring the 5 over to the other side of the equation, it becomes a positive because it was a negative over here. So once you do that, you bring the x's to one side and numbers to the other, and remembering to change their sign when you bring them over. That's very important. Once you do that, you can just go ahead and subtract. So 3x minus x is 2x, and then 1 plus 5 is 6. And at this point, when I have a number in front of x, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this side by 2, but whatever I do to the one side of the equation, I have to do the same thing to the other. So if I divide one side by a number, I have to do the same thing to the other, or if I multiply one side by a number, I have to do the same thing to the other side, okay? So same thing goes for adding. If I added 3 to this side, then I'd have to add 3 to this side. So another way I could have gotten rid of this 5 is I could have added 5 to the left side and then added 5 to the right side, and that would have just canceled out those. And then with the x's, I could have subtracted an x from the right side and then subtracted an x from the left side. So I'm going to show you how to solve it that way as well. I prefer this way. I find it easier just to move things around and just change the signs when you do. And then just keep in mind that if you divide one side by a certain number, you have to do the same thing to the other, or if you multiply one side by something, you have to do the same thing to the other. Okay, so what you do here is just cancel these out, so you get x equals 3, and that would be your final answer. So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about here with the other method. Some people prefer to solve equations in this way. So, and this, you can solve it using either method. I find this one a lot easier, but it will be up to you. Now, maybe to eliminate this 5, they'd add 5, but whatever you do to the left side, you have to do the same to the right. So those would cancel, and then you'd end up with 3x equals x plus 6. And then to eliminate this x, maybe subtract an x from this side, but then I'd have to do the same thing to the left side. So then the x's would cancel, and then I get 3x minus x, which would be 2x equals 6. So I would end up here, and then just divide both sides by 2. So x would be equal to 3. Okay, so that's an alternate way of solving the question. Some people prefer this way. I myself prefer this method right here. I like to move things when it comes to adding and subtracting. I just like to move things over, just change the signs. I find that a lot easier. And then when it comes to multiplying or dividing, whatever you do to one side, you do the same thing to the other. Okay, or you can follow this way. So that would be up to you. Okay, let's try a few more examples. Alright, so let's see here. Let's try something a little bit more complicated. So say you have 3 times 3x plus 1 minus 6 equals 5, x minus 2 plus 15. And again, you're asked to solve for x. Okay, so what you're going to do first is you want to get rid of the brackets. So you're going to open up the brackets, and when you do that, this number is going to go into both. So it's going to become 9x plus 3. And then this is minus 6. And then when I open up this bracket here, I get 5x minus 10. So you have to multiply the 5 into both. And you remember, if there's nothing in front of the x, there's actually a 1. So at this point, I'm going to add up my numbers. So we get 9x minus 3, 5x, and then negative 10 plus 5 is positive 5. So at this point, you can start, using either method. You can start adding and subtracting. I'm going to just move all the x's to one side and all the numbers to the other side. So I'm going to move the 5x over here and 3 over here. So but I have to keep in mind that when I move it to the other side of the equation, it does change sign. So I'm allowed to move stuff around as long as I change the sign of it. This thing is going to be a -3 when I move it over to the other side of the equation. It's going to become a plus. So at that point we have 9x minus 5x, which is 4x, and then 5 plus 3, which is 8. So now at this point, I want to solve for x, and there's a 4 in front of it. So how do I get rid of that 4? Well, I divide this side by 4. But whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the same to the other. So this becomes x equals 2. Okay, so that would be your solution. Now, so at this point, you can check your answer. So if you want to see if your answer was correct, you could do a check of your solution. Sometimes questions ask you to check your solution. And to do that, what you do is you just take your answer, you plug it into the equation, and you see if the two sides do equal. And if they do, if the left side equals the right side, then you do have the right answer. So we could check this quickly. So we could go 3 times 2 plus 1 minus 6 equals, and then the other side is 5, 2 minus 2 plus 15. So I'm just plugging the 2 into the x's here. Okay, so here I've got, oops, we don't want to write down that part because that stays in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to do using BEDMAS, of course. Whenever we do anything in mathematics, we're going to do this part first. So we're going to do 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1 minus 6 equals 5 times 0 plus 15. So this becomes 3 times 7 minus 6, which is, so 5 times 0 is 0 plus 15. So 3 times 7 is 21 minus 6, which is 15. And then 15 equals 15. So that means the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. Therefore, we do have the right solution. Okay, so if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, that means you've got the right answer. So that's a quick way to check your solution when you solve equations. Now at this point, so as I said, I moved things around here and I just changed the signs, but I could have used the other method where I, added 3 here and added 3 to this side. That would have canceled out the 3 here, and then I could have subtracted 5x from the right side and then done the same thing to the left side, and that would have given me the same result. Okay, so this step here, if I want to, if we want to write it out the long way here, sorry, what I did here, so I could have done 9x minus 3, and I could have just, okay, so equals 5x plus 5. So at this point we could have done 9x minus 3 plus 3 to eliminate the number on that side, so that would become 5x plus 5 plus 3. So this would have canceled and we would have got 9x equals 5x plus 8. And then at this point, we could have gotten rid of the 5x by doing 5x, subtracting 5x from both sides of the equation. And then we've got the plus 8 here. So these 5x's cancel, so we get 4x equals 8. And then we would at that point just divide both sides by 2. So that's using the long method that I was talking about. So that would be like add 3 to both sides to eliminate the 3's, and then subtract 5x, so then you would end up with this, and then subtract 5x from both sides to end up with 4x equals 8. So the 5x's you would subtract from both sides. Yeah, so that would be here. And then you would just divide both sides by 4, so you get x equals 2 as your answer. Okay? So that's another way. So let's try some more here. Okay, let's start with layer 3. All right, let's see here. Let's try to learn a few examples. Now, say you have something with fractions. So if you have x over 3 minus 2 equals 5. Whenever you have a question like this, what you want to do is you want to eliminate the fraction. So you're going to multiply, to eliminate this 3, I would multiply this by 3. But whatever I do to this to each term, I have to do it to every other term in order not to change the equation. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. And that way I'm not actually changing the equation. And that's going to help get rid of the fraction. So we're going to end up with the following. Okay, so that's a little trick to eliminate the fraction. And then at this point I could just move that over here. So that would be 15 plus 6. So x is equal to 21. Okay, so that would be my answer. Let's try a few more examples. So you had the following. So for this, you want to eliminate these fractions. You got more than one fraction, so what you're going to do is you're going to think of your, for these two numbers, you're going to find your lowest common multiple. So in this case, the number that divides, or actually, yeah, lowest common multiple is correct. So we're going to find the lowest number that divides both of these. So a number that would divide both 2 and 3 is the number 6. So I'm going to actually multiply everything by 6. So when we do that, 6 divided by 2 is 3, plus 18. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we just eliminated the fractions by doing this step right here. Okay, so then at this point I could bring the 2x over here and bring the 18 over there. So that becomes 3x minus 2x. This becomes negative 18 when I bring it over to the other side. And then 3x minus 2x is just x, so x equals negative 18 is our final answer. And you can actually take that answer and plug it back into your original equation here to check it if you wanted to make sure it was correct. And then if the left-hand side, whatever you get on the left-hand side equals the same as the right-hand side, then that means you've got the correct answer. Okay? Let's try a few more. Let's try this one. 3x minus 5 over 2 equals 2x minus 1 over 3 plus 4. So this question is solve for x. Again, a number that divides the lowest common multiple, a number that divides both 2 and 3 is the number 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use that number. So we're going to multiply everything by 6. So it's going to be 6 times 3x minus 5 over 2 equals 6 times 2x minus 1 over 3 plus 6 times 4. Okay, now 6 times 2 is going to be 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then 6 times 4 is 24. So at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to bring this in here and here. So this becomes 3 times 3x minus 5 equals 2 times 2x minus 2 plus 24. So the 2 just comes into both here. Now what I'm going to do is open up these brackets, and when I do, this actually goes here and here. So this becomes 9x minus 15, which is equal to 4x minus 4 plus 24. So at that point, we've got 9x minus 15, which is equal to 4x plus 20. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to bring all the x's to one side and all the numbers to the other side. So we get 9x minus 4x equals 20 plus 15. I'm just going to move this up here. Let's just go like this here, sorry. Just a little bit of space here. So we have 9x minus 4x, which is 20 plus 15, so that becomes 5x equals 35. Okay, and at that point, we would just divide both sides of the equation by 5. So x would be equal to 35 divided by 5, which is 7. So x would be equal to 7, okay? And you would actually be able to check that answer by plugging into the original. So this would be my way of solving this equation, okay? There are other ways to solve equations like I was mentioning before. Okay, so let's try a few more examples. Let's try the following one. So solve for x. So say you're given 3 times x plus 2, 2 minus x equals 3 times x minus 2, x minus 3 plus 2x times 4 minus 3x. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use FOIL. So we're going to do first terms, outer terms, inner terms, last terms. Same thing here, first terms, outer terms, inner terms, last terms. Then this is just going to get multiplied in. So we're going to use FOIL here, like I said. FOIL is what I'm using there. So x times 2 is 2x. X times negative x is negative x squared. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 2 times negative x is negative 2x. Okay, now the other part here. So x times x is x squared minus 3x. This one is minus 2x. And this times this is plus 6. Plus, so this becomes 8x minus 6x squared. So that's 2x times negative 3x. Okay. So now at this point, we can simplify. We can start simplifying inside the brackets or open up the brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to simplify inside the brackets. So this cancels this. So I'm left with negative x squared plus 4, which is equal to 3 times. So this becomes x squared minus 5x plus 6 plus 8x minus 6x squared. So now what we can do is we can actually bring the numbers in. So this becomes negative 3x squared plus 12, which is equal to 3x squared minus 15x plus 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 8x minus 6x squared. Okay, so that's what we get there. And then, so now we have to start collecting. Okay, so let's go to the next. All right, just 1 second here. So what you get is negative 3x squared plus 12 equal to 3x squared minus 15x plus 18 plus 8x minus 6x squared. Okay, so just give me 1 second. Okay, so let's just add another one here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring all the x squares to one side first of all, and okay, actually let's start adding like terms up first. So over here we've got negative 3x squared plus 12. So 3x squared minus 6x squared is negative 3x squared, and then negative 15x plus 8x is minus 7x plus 18. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to bring all the x squares to one side and all the numbers to the other side. So it becomes negative 3x squared plus 3x squared, which is equal to negative 7x plus 18. And then I guess this we could bring, yeah, we could bring the 12 over, so that would become negative 12. So now these actually cancel each other out. So what happens here is we can actually bring this over here. So that's going to become 7x. And then 18 minus 12 is just 6. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by by 7. So x equals 6 over 7 would be your final answer. Okay. So x equals 6 over 7 would be your final answer for that one. Okay, so we can try a few other ones. Yeah, and there's many more that you could try. So I think that's a good beginning lesson. So that's just a few examples there. So any questions, feel free to email at evemathtutoring@outlook.com. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and